The pain was a nightly ritual, as certain as the moon's rise. But the evening Victor left his desk drawer unlocked was the crack that broke his world. I'd overcooked the lamb, a trivial error I knew would unleash his fury. Victor didn't speak. He rose from the table, his shadow swallowing the dim kitchen light, and struck my cheek with a force that sent me reeling to the cold tiles, my vision bursting into stars. He marched to his study, the door's slam echoing like a gavel's fall, leaving me sprawled, my face throbbing, blood sharp on my tongue. I lay there, breath shallow, tears long since abandoned. They'd never softened him. When I stood, my fingers grazed my swollen cheek, the pain a familiar ache, blood pooling at my lips. I didn't wipe it away. It was part of me now. Hours later, the front door crashed shut, Victor's car roaring off to the bar where he'd Dan, the mask of a saint, charming friends with his easy laugh. The house fell silent, save for the soft ticking of the grandfather clock in the hall, each tick a marker of my endurance in this prison of a home. Then I noticed it, a faint glow, seeping from his study door, a room he kept locked, his private kingdom where I was forbidden. A spark of defiance, unfamiliar and sharp, urged me forward. I stepped inside, the air heavy with the scent of old books, polished wood, and stale cigar smoke. My heart pounded like a drum as I crossed the threshold, feeling like an intruder. In my own life, my eyes locked on his oak desk, its left drawer slightly ajar, a sliver of shadow where a lock should have held it shut. I froze, pulse racing, then reached out, my trembling fingers pulling the drawer open. Inside were envelopes bound with rubber bands, loose papers, and a stack of photographs. I lifted an envelope, my stomach twisting as 4 IDs spilled out, bearing Victor's name, each with a different face, subtly altered but hauntingly familiar. Then the photos. A girl, perhaps 15, in a dingy motel room, her eyes red, her face etched with terror, hands trembling. I dropped them, my skin crawling as if they carried a curse. This wasn't just about me anymore. Victor wasn't merely a tyrant, he was hiding a darkness far deeper, a secret that turned my fear into a smoldering rage. To the world, Victor was flawless. At neighborhood gatherings, he was the life of the party, cracking jokes, pouring wine, coaching Little League with a warm smile that disarmed everyone. He brought me orchids on our anniversary, held doors with a flourish, called me his forever love to anyone who'd listen. Neighbors envied our picture-perfect life, whispering how lucky I was to have such a devoted husband. But those orchids arrived after fists, those hands that tossed baseballs left bruises hidden under my long sleeves. At barbecues, his arm around my shoulders was a vice, his whispers venomous if I laughed too freely at a guest's story. "You're nothing without me, Elena," he'd hiss, his breath hot against my ear, his grip tightening until I winced. I learned to conceal the mark scarves in summer, makeup caked over purple, lies about clumsy falls. I stayed because his lies chained me. No one else would want you. You're broken. He controlled the bank accounts, the car, our schedule, shrinking my world to his shadow, a cage built of charm and cruelty. Early on, I tried to speak, dropping hints to friends about his temper, the red flags I couldn't ignore. But Victor was a master manipulator, his smile a weapon. "She's sensitive," he'd say, his voice warm, almost pitying. "She misreads things, but I love her quirks." His charm turned my truths into doubts, my warnings into whispers no one heeded. Friends nodded, reassured by his sincerity, while I shrank further into silence. They doubted me, never him. I realized no one was coming to save me, I had to forge my own escape. That open drawer was a turning point. A fire kindled in my chest, burning through years of fear. I began to watch Victor as he watched me, my movements silent, calculated, a predator learning her prey. When he slept, his snores heavy with whiskey, I crept to his phone, backing it up to a hidden folder on my old laptop, my hands shaking as I copied bank statements, cryptic contact lists, and odd transaction records. I photographed the IDs, the motel girl's terrified face seared into my mind, uploading each to a secure cloud drive, every click a defiance of his control. The fear was constant, my pulse a relentless drumbeat in the dark, but I pressed on, driven by a fury I hadn't known I possessed. Then, a text pierced the silence from Nora, my friend from a life before Victor. "Miss you, Elena," it read, a lifeline to a self I'd buried. He'd banned her, calling her too opinionated, severing our bond until I'd lost her number. I stared at the message, my throat tight, then typed, "I'm okay, just swamped." A lie, brittle and hollow. Her reply was immediate, "That's not you." She saw the ghost I'd become, her words echoing like a call to battle, urging me to reclaim myself. The first lie I told Victor was small but electric. Went for a walk, I said, dropping my keys on the counter, my heart thundering. In truth, I'd met Nora in a park, a brief, tense exchange under gray skies, no hugs, just hurried words in the shadow of bare trees. I miss you, I admitted, my voice barely above a whisper, a spark of rebellion flaring. It felt like stealing breath after years, underwater. Victor's eyes narrowed, his suspicion sharp. You don't walk. Trying something new, I replied, forcing a smile that felt foreign on my lips. He stared, a beat too long, then pressed a cold kiss to my forehead, dismissing me like a child. That night, when he raged over a crooked picture frame, his voice a storm of insults, I slipped my phone under the couch cushion and hit record. His words poured out, venomous, demanding I repeat his script. I will obey you. I will not deceive you. I will be better. My voice trembled, cracking by the end, but the recording captured his cruelty, a tangible truth I could hold. Later, alone, I played it back, the sound low but clear, and something clicked. I wasn't crazy. This was real, and I wouldn't die in this cage. The next morning, my phone wouldn't unlock. Victor had changed the passcode, his smile, casual but cruel. Too many distractions lately, he said, his eyes daring me to challenge him. Panic surged, but I swallowed it, resolve hardening. That night, he passed out on the couch, whiskey bottle in hand. The TV blaring a late-night talk show, his snores a coarse rhythm. I watched him, ensuring he was gone to the world, then moved. His laptop sat in his study, a forbidden relic I'd never touched. The password was his childhood dog's name, Shadow, a careless choice for a man so meticulous in his cruelty. The files seemed mundane at first, work emails. Photos of his vintage car until I found a folder buried deep in a directory labeled Taxas 2017. My instincts screamed. Victor loathed taxes. I clicked, my hands shaking as I entered the same password. It opened. Inside were dozens of files, fake IDs with Victor's face altered by haircuts or glasses, spreadsheets listing offshore bank accounts, names I didn't recognize, and massive deposits. Then the videos. I clicked one, my stomach lurching as Victor appeared, beating a man tied to a chair. The man's cries raw and desperate. I closed it, bile rising. Another video showed me, filmed through a crack, in the bathroom door, unaware. Dozens more, some years old, captured me sleeping, dressing, living under his unseen eye. Then, a third video, the motel girl, trembling, her voice a whisper, please, let me go. Her eyes were hollow, her frame frail, as if she hadn't eaten in days. I covered my mouth, stifling a scream, and copied the entire folder to a flash drive I'd hidden in a book's hollowed-out pages. My heart pounded like a war drum. Victor wasn't just abusive, he was a predator, perhaps a killer, and I'd been sleeping beside him. Days later, outside the grocery store, as I loaded bags into the trunk, a presence loomed behind me. I turned to find a man, mid-30s, in a hoodie, his eyes sharp but calm. You're Victor's wife, right? He said, voice low. My stomach dropped, my silence a shield. He pulled a cheap burner phone from his pocket. I'm Simon. He took something from me. Call when you're ready to destroy him. He vanished into the parking lot, leaving me clutching the phone, a bag of apples slipping to the ground. No one noticed. I shoved the phone into my purse, buried under receipts and gum, and at home, hid it in a box of sanitary pads, a place Victor's disgust ensured he'd never touch. That night, sleep eluded me, Simon's words looping in my mind. Call when you're ready to destroy him. I wasn't there yet, but the ember of resolve glowed brighter. I began documenting everything, every bruise, every threat, every shattered dish. I built a timeline from our wedding day, charting red flags, injuries, lies. I researched the names on the IDs, the bank accounts, one address pointing to a storage unit across town. I told no one, my pen moving feverishly, fear giving way to purpose. The words in my notebook became my armor, each entry a step toward freedom. Then I walked into the police station, flash drive in my pocket, hands trembling but spine straight. I need to report my husband, I said, voice small but firm. The desk officer handed me a clipboard, her smile polite but distant. In a gray room, I faced a bored detective, showing him my bruises, purple blooms on my arms and back, played the recording of Victor's threats, his voice snarling, calling me worthless, promising worse. I mentioned the fake IDs, the offshore accounts, the video of the motel girl. He leaned back, expression unchanged, and shrugged. "We'll look into it," he said, as if I'd reported a lost wallet. I asked for a case number. He scribbled it on a sticky note. They let me leave without taking the drive. Outside, I gripped the steering wheel, my knuckles white, anger burning hotter than fear. They didn't believe me, or Victor's charm had reached even here, his influence a shadow over justice. When I got home, the house was too quiet, the air heavy with menace. Victor sat at the kitchen table, holding the flash drive I'd hidden in my coat. "You went to the cops," he said, his voice calm, his eyes empty, like a predator sizing up prey. I didn't answer. His hand moved faster than I could brace for, striking my temple. Pain exploded, lights flashing behind my eyes as I stumbled, hit the counter, and fell to the floor. Blood filled my mouth, my vision fading as his footsteps receded. When I woke, my head throbbed, my lips split, the drive and my phone gone. But in that stillness, a new voice whispered not fear, not despair, but fire. "Burn it all down." I waited until Victor left for a 2-day business trip, playing the dutiful wife, smiling as his car vanished down the street. Then I locked every door, every window, and retrieved a second flash drive. Hidden beneath a loose floorboard under our bed, a secret he hadn't found. I sat at the kitchen table, my hands shaking as I created an anonymous email account. No trace to me. I searched for a journalist known for exposing corruption, someone who'd tackled stories of missing women and police inaction. For hours, I typed, not a story but a litany of facts, the names on the fake IDs, the offshore accounts, the folder of videos. I attached the motel girl's file, her red eyes and trembling plea a silent cry for justice. I hit send, my heart pounding, and stared at the screen, waiting for a reply that didn't come. Not that day, not the next. 3 days later, I returned from the store to find the back door ajar, the lock untouched but the frame splintered. Nothing was stolen, not the jewelry, not the cash, not my laptop, but the sanitary pad box in the bathroom was disturbed, the burner phone gone. Someone had been here, watching, waiting. My pulse raced, but I didn't cry, didn't panic. I reached deeper into the box, pulling out a second burner phone, a backup for the backup, hidden weeks ago. I dialed Simon's number, written on a scrap of paper. He answered on the first ring. "Hello," he said, voice low, steady. "It's me," I whispered. A pause, then, "Are you ready?" I didn't hesitate. "Yes, let's burn him down." We met at midnight in an empty lot behind a shuttered diner, the air buzzing with cicadas, the streetlight casting long shadows. Simon leaned against a dark pickup, his eyes scanning the darkness as I approached. "You came alone?" he asked. I nodded. "Always do." He pulled a worn photo from his coat, edges frayed from handling. "My sister Lila," he said, his voice thick. The girl in the picture had bright eyes, a shy smile, full of life. She vanished 2 years ago, after a date with a guy she met online. He held up another photo, and my breath caught Victor, under a different name, a fake ID, his arm around Lila, smiling like a wolf. "It's him," Simon said, voice hard. "I've been tracking him since." He showed me a folder, timelines, maps, police reports dismissed as runaways. I shared my evidence, the IDs, the videos, the accounts. When I mentioned the motel girl, Simon's face tightened. "Not Leela," he said softly, "but I've seen her on missing persons boards. She's real." We sat in silence, the weight of our shared purpose settling over us. "I want to end him," I said finally. Simon met my eyes. "You could walk away." "No," I replied. "He knows I'm slipping. If I stay quiet, I die slowly." He nodded. "Then we do it smart. We leak it all, make it too big to ignore." We planned meticulously, a burner website, anonymous tips, timed leaks to journalists. Simon had contacts, I had proof. Together, we'd make Victor infamous for his sins. I returned home, where Victor lounged on the couch, flipping channels, oblivious to the storm brewing. "You're late," he said, eyes cold. "Traffic," I replied, kissing his cheek, my voice steady. He suspected nothing, his arrogance my shield. That night, I crushed a mild sedative into his bourbon while he showered, just enough to dull his edges. He downed it, shirt half-buttoned, already irritable. 10 minutes later, he sat at his desk, blinking slowly, his focus slipping. I activated a hidden mic in my jacket. "Victor," I said, voice firm. "Where's the girl?" The one in the motel video. What did you do to her? His eyes narrowed, his body swaying slightly. You know nothing, he slurred, standing, knocking over his chair. You've been digging, he hissed, lunging, but he was too slow, his balance faltering. His arm clipped the desk, and he stumbled. Tell me. I screamed, my voice raw. He grabbed my wrist, his grip bruising, but I wasn't afraid anymore. I shoved him, just enough, and he lost his footing, his head striking the desk's edge with a sickening crack. He groaned, blood seeping from his hairline, not dead but stunned, his power drained. I stepped back, breathing hard, and called Simon. It's done, I said. Send it, he replied. We uploaded everything, files, photos, videos, IDs, accounts to the burner site, setting the truth free. By morning, it began a single post on a crime forum, then a tweet, then a TikTok video breaking it down. By noon, it was everywhere, Reddit, news sites, headlines, screaming, bankers, secret life, assault, fraud, kidnapping, the motel girl's plea, my bruises, the fake IDs, the accounts all public. People raged, connecting missing persons, cases, demanding justice. Victor was arrested mid-swing on a golf course, agents cuffing him as he shouted about being framed. I watched from a dusty motel room in another state, curtains drawn, my hair dyed, my ID, now Clara. The news labeled him a monster assault, trafficking, more charges pending as victims emerged. My phone buzzed Simon. He's done. More coming. I didn't reply. I faced the mirror, whispering, you beat me every night, but now the world strikes back. I smiled, free at last.